Hello, and welcome to A Bridge to Enterprise Project Management. This is Project Management Consultant Joseph C. Fusco, here with a consultant's eye view about implementing, or, if it's already had some success, enhancing an organization's project management culture through enterprise project management. This video is about how to lower project development costs through increases in productivity. It builds a bridge that spans the gap between cost reduction as a policy and its implementation. There are always gaps between policies and their implementation, as former President Clinton reminded us when he said, being president is like running a cemetery. You've got a lot of people under you and nobody's listening. This clip art provides a metaphor for the policy to implementation problem in enterprise project management. The building on the left represents project cost management. The building on the right represents the goal to project cost reduction. The man trying to get from one to the other by crossing on a dollar bill needs a stronger bridge like the one we'll develop in this video. We begin with a project cost management technique called Earned Value Management, or EVM for short. EVM is a project cost management technique used for measuring project progress and forecasting outcomes. Phrases like reduce costs or increase productivity are only hollow ideals until they can be quantified, and quantification of time and money is exactly where EVM comes into play. EVM opens the gateway to cost management and ultimately enterprise project management because its simple formulas unify and quantify costs and time. Time is indeed money, as EVM shows us very well. EVM is also a forecasting tool that predicts time to complete and cost to complete. It also offers economies of scale. The more projects that are managed using EVM, the greater the savings. Best of all, EVM increases fact-based decision-making, which allows those closest to the project to act quickly to correct problems and minimize risks. And so cost management based on EVM becomes the first component of this bridge to cost reduction. The federal government, which invented project management over half a century ago, made EVM standard for its projects in 2006. There is only so much about EVM that can be explained here, but those who are interested are encouraged to visit NASA's excellent EVM pages at their site. For a quick EVM overview, we begin with a graph on how costs accrue to a project over time. The blue S-shaped curve is typical of any project, where costs are low at startup, they rise rapidly during ramp-up and development, and then they tail off as the project nears completion. Now this just touches on the surface of EVM, yet useful strategies can already be developed using this information. Consider, for example, high-risk projects like R&D or real estate development, which can consume capital but not always yield rewards. Since project startup costs are low, these types of organizations can afford to look at more projects than they ever hope to take on. Their strategy is to explore several options while costs are low and weed out all but a few of them. Projects with normal risks, in contrast, need to keep a particularly watchful eye on ramp-up, because if these costs do not escalate, it's a sign that the projects are being held back by lack of funding, lack of resources, or both. As for managing late projects, the fact that costs tail off near the end of a project indicates that if a project is behind schedule, yet nearing completion, then putting more money into it is not necessarily the best alternative for bringing it to closure. The flattening tail of the S-curve tells us that non-monetary alternatives like extending the deadline, reducing features, or improving leadership will do more to close out a late project than last-minute desperation funding. Returning now to the forecasting power of EVM, this blue curve represents the project as planned. Predicting time and cost to complete will require knowing actual costs and actual progress. Here, the red curve represents how much has actually been spent. The green curve shows how much work has been accomplished. EVM's simple formulas, which run on a spreadsheet, can forecast how much time and money will be needed to complete the project. Here is the project's projected cost overrun, and here is its projected time overrun. But keep in mind that these overruns are not set in stone, because this project was only about 40% complete when the forecast was taken. There is ample time to take corrective action, but credit EVM for at least identifying the problem that needs to be solved. Now let's see how EVM predicts project trends. Here again, the blue line represents what was planned, and now the black line represents what is actually taking place. The two here are in agreement, so this project does not appear to need any special attention. Now keep an eye on the red oval at the end of each black line. This project is going very well. It's ahead of schedule, and as the tip of the black curve indicates, it's gaining even more ground. This might raise a question about whether the planning that created the blue curve might have been too loose, but if that's a problem, it's a good one to have. This example illustrates the type of early warning sign that project managers expect from EVM. This project is ahead of schedule, but it is dipping back toward the planned line instead of away from it. This project is not behind yet, but it will be unless this warning leads to action. This project was in trouble, but it's regaining its lost ground. This suggests that corrective action that was taken previously is working. This project is behind and falling further behind. As for cost analysis, one question to ask is whether this is a one-of-a-kind project or a fairly routine project. If it's routine, then it's clearly in trouble. But if it's one of a kind, then this curve is probably telling us that the initial plan was overly optimistic. Predicting time and cost to complete and project trends are examples of EVM cost analysis. And so we add cost analysis to the bridge between cost management and cost reduction. For all its power, though, EVM is not without risks, and the timeliness of information about current project status and acceptance by those who have to maintain and use EVM are two of its highest profile risks. As for timeliness, EVM estimates are real-time snapshots on a given date. But if the actuals lag 2, 3, or 4 weeks late, it leaves a gap, sometimes known as a data shadow, and aptly symbolized by this black box. The greater the shadow, the less accurate the forecasts. Fortunately, application software for managing EVM is plentiful. Standards, procedures, and training on how to apply them also mitigate the timeliness risk. As for acceptance, ease of use is critical, as is the point that people are more likely to buy into EVM and enterprise project management when they participate in creating it, which brings up one of the most effective approaches to quality improvement, the quality improvement team. Quality improvement teams might have been added to the bridge, except that QITs are temporary, lasting only as long as their charter requires, and this bridge is about permanence. One point about QITs that is particularly relevant in mid to large size organizations is that there need to be separate QITs for each major group of projects, so that, for example, the engineering personnel can develop ideas relevant to engineering, and, as would be the case in a nonprofit, fundraising can develop its own best practices. Here are a few of the more project-heavy sectors of an organization. A very large organization might have 20 or more QITs over time, though 3 to 5 are more or less the norm at any given time. As for QIT organization, the sponsor or sponsors provide high-level support, but are not necessarily part of the day-to-day work. QITs in larger organizations will often have 2 sponsors, one at the executive level and a senior manager at a division level, for example. Department representatives, however, make up the majority of a QIT. If this is an information technology team, one might expect to see representatives from applications, web development, networking, possibly operations, systems, and so on. Interdepartmental representatives tend to come from departments closest to the interests of the department at the focus of the QIT. If this is a product development QIT for an engineering department, it would not be uncommon to see representatives from an upstream department like R&D and downstream departments like manufacturing or customer service working to coordinate the projects from group to group. Project management offices, where they exist, have much to contribute to a QIT, particularly in bringing cross-functional perspectives, lessons already learned, and current standards to the team. External advisors, such as independent project management consultants, also contribute to the team by bringing in perspectives and experience from QITs and other organizations that they have served on. Optimally, QITs range between 8 and 12 members. There is some flexibility here,